Will Christians, Jews and the people of the book go to heaven? Well, the Holy Quran says, إِنَّ الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَالَّذِينَ هَادُوا وَالنَّصَارَى وَالصَّابِئِينَ مَنْ آمَنَ بِاللَّهِ وَالْيَوْمِ الْآخِرِ وَعَمِلَ الصَّالِحًا فَلَهُمْ أَجْرُهُمْ عِنْدَ رَبِّهِمْ وَلَا خَوْفٌ عَلَيْهِمْ وَلَا هُمْ يَحْزَنُونَ. Surely those who believe and those who are Jews and the Christians and the Sabians, whoever believes in Allah and the last day and does good, they shall have their reward from their Lord, and there is no fear for them, nor shall they grieve. Despite this, you have many Muslims who come and say, only we Muslims will go to heaven. Is this the attitude that Islam actually teaches us to have? The short answer is no. Actually, the Quran teaches us that this mentality that only the followers of my religion or my sect will go to Jannah is actually a Christian and Jewish mentality, not an Islamic one. وَقَالُوا لَنْ يَدْخُلَ الْجَنَّةَ إِلَّا مَنْ كَانَ هُودًا أَوْ نَصَارًا. And they say, none shall enter the garden or paradise except he who is a Jew or a Christian. If you have this mentality that only we Muslims will go to Jannah, paradise, heaven, then you might call yourself a Muslim, but your mentality is actually a Jewish Christian mentality, not an Islamic one. In reality, Islam, the Quran, teaches us that anyone who believes in Allah and the last day and does good deeds is going to have their reward with their Lord. Now, you might think to yourself, well, if I'm going to be rewarded while being a Muslim, and this Christian or this Jew is going to be rewarded in the same way or a similar way, what's the point of me even being a Muslim? I might as well just convert to Judaism or Christianity, change my name to David, and call it a day. Right? Wrong. Completely wrong. You just completely missed the point there. Because the Quran also states, إِنَّ الدِّينَ عِنْدَ اللَّهِ الْإِسْلَامِ. Surely the true religion with Allah is Islam. We need to get this straight. Every person will be rewarded according to the distance that they traveled. Infinite jumping games. The objective is to keep getting higher without missing one of the platforms or bumping into any of the obstacles, in which case you'll fall down and have to start all over again. It's a perfect way to waste your precious time, and the best thing is, they never end. But what if I were to tell you that your life is like one of these infinite jumping games? The higher upwards you travel is how high your status will be on the Day of Judgment. Each of the platforms represents good deeds. There's charity, there's sending salams to a believer, there's being good to your spouse, there's reciting the Quran. Each one takes you higher and higher. إِلَيْهِ يَسْعَدُ الْكَلِمُ الطَّيِّبُ وَالْعَمَلُ الصَّالِحُ يَرْفَعُهُ. To him do ascend the good words, and the good deeds are what lift them up. Faith is that thing which is keeping you jumping. Boing, boing, you keep on going up and down, Faith is that thing that's making you do that. But unless you land on one of the platforms, i.e. good deeds, you won't be taken up. And the obstacles, they represent evil deeds, sins which have been placed in your path towards ascension to stop you from getting higher. Your mission is to avoid them, but if you stumble and jump to one of them, then you'll fall down. By the end of your life, it's the distance that you have traveled upwards that truly matters, not where you started off from. This distance that you travel, this will be how high your status is in the 7 levels of Jannah. For example, if you travel 1,000 miles upwards in your life, you will reach the Jannah, which is 1,000 miles high. If you travel 7,000 miles upwards in your life, you will reach that Jannah, which is 7,000 miles high. If you only traveled 1 mile high, hey, it's still 1 mile high, and you'll reach the lower Jannah. And even that lower Jannah is worth more than all of this dunya and every delight and pleasure and luxury that this dunya could ever possibly have to offer. But the point is, the very least that we can do as Muslims is to remain Muslim. The Holy Quran says, وَلَا تَمُوتُنَّ إِلَّا وَأَنْتُمْ مُسْلِمُونَ, and do not die except as Muslims. What if instead of getting higher, you go lower? What if you listen to shaitan, you end up entertaining doubts, and you actually stumble downwards beyond your starting point and end up with a minus score? Well, then the distance you have traveled downwards will now translate to how deep you go into hellfire. And the Quran says, ذُوقُوا عَذَابَ النَّارِ الَّذِي كُنْتُمْ بِهِ تُكَذِّبُونَ. Taste the punishment of the fire which you used to deny. So just imagine, player 2969 is born into a polytheistic kafir family. He has no understanding about God, religion, it's just all about dunya. But player 2969 is curious. He knows there must be something more to life. He starts climbing. He not only becomes a better, more open-minded and honest kafir, eventually he leaves the lowest levels of polytheism, shirk and kufr, and discovers Prophet Ibrahim and Isa alayhim as-salam. He becomes a Christian and believes in God. But player 2969 doesn't stop there. He climbs higher. He discovers the seal of the prophets, Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wasallam, and he becomes a Muslim. In this process, his entire life has changed. He's made new friends and lost the old. He's now praying the 5 daily prayers. His eating, his sleeping, his entire lifestyle has dramatically changed, and he's found what so many could only ever dream of finding: a sense of inner peace. Just look at the distance he has traveled. He is surely going to end up in one of the higher and loftier stations in Jannah. But wait, what about Apos 8716? Apos 8716 was born into a Muslim household, but he wasn't interested in Islam. He saw that his friends were out partying and drinking and smoking pot and listening to ghina music. The life of this dunya deluded him, and he didn't go up, he went down. And by the end of his life, Apos ended up in the lowest levels of polytheism, shirk and kufr. If he dies in this state, he is going to end up in some of the lowest pits of hell. Now, this is the most important part, so pay attention. When you look at a revert like player 2969, you think, wow, look at them. They're so much better than me. This sister never had a concept of modesty, but now she's changed her entire wardrobe and is wearing full hijab. This brother recites the Quran with such passion. They follow Islam so much better than me. Reverts not only traveled up, but they actually advanced to a higher level. They transformed their entire life for the sake of Islam. They converted. How can I do that? I was already born at the top level. But you see, Islam is not the top level. It's only the beginning of the greater heights. For above the level of the Muslims is the level of the believers, mu'mineen. First of all, a mu'min is not the same as a mere Muslim. In fact, the Holy Quran teaches us that the desert Arabs, the Bedouins, they came to the Prophet and they said, Amanna, we believe. Allah commands the Prophet to tell these Bedouins, you haven't believed? لم تؤمنوا ولكن قولوا أسلمنا ولما يدخل الإيمان في قلوبكم. The Prophet is commanded to tell them, don't say that you have believed, rather say that you have submitted, you are Muslims, and true Iman has not yet entered your hearts. In fact, there are many people who believe themselves to be mu'mineen, to be believers, but they're not. They're actually just Muslims. The difference between being a Muslim and being a believer, a mu'min, is so vast that if a Muslim traveled to that high level, it would be a remarkable change, almost like someone converting from one religion to another. The Holy Quran says, إِنَّمَا الْمُؤْمِنُونَ الَّذِينَ إِذَا ذُكِرَ اللَّهُ وَجِلَتْ قُلُوبُهُمْ. Only those are believers who, when they are reminded of Allah, their hearts tremble. So if you want to know whether you're just a Muslim or whether you've actually transcended and you're now a mu'min, ask yourself if your heart vibrates or trembles when you remember Allah. The Holy Quran also states, إِنَّمَا الْمُؤْمِنُونَ الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا بِاللَّهِ وَرَسُولِهِ ثُمَّ لَمْ يَرْتَابُوا وَجَاهَدُوا بِأَمْوَالِهِمْ وَأَنفُسِهِمْ فِي سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ. The believers are only those who believe in Allah and His Messenger. Then they have no doubts and struggle hard with their wealth and their lives in the way of Allah. So if you want to convert, you want to level up, you want to become more than just a Muslim, you need to, number one, believe in Allah and the Messenger. Number two, have no doubt. And number three, do jihad with your wealth and your life, whether it's soft war or hard war. Recognize the enemies of Islam and fight them. Oh, that sounds extreme, does it? That sounds hard, does it? Well, that's how a Christian feels when he wants to convert to Islam. They get told by their friends, their families, their co-workers, what? You're going to become one of those Muslims? You're going to start wearing a hijab or praying and fasting? Think about your reputation and your life. If you want that reward and want to truly level up, then you're going to face a similar struggle and a similar reward. Except now, even other Muslims will say to you, what? You're going to become one of them? You're going to dedicate your life to struggle and resistance? Think about your reputation and your life. And that's okay, because Allah says, وَلَا تَهِنُوا وَلَا تَحْزَنُوا وَأَنْتُمُ الْأَعْلَوْنَ إِن كُنْتُمْ مُؤْمِنِينَ. So do not weaken and do not grieve, and you will be superior if you are true believers. But now I want you to think about Timothy 2:9-6-9. Timothy was born into a kafir household. His father abandoned his mother before he was even born. His mother worked part-time at a nightclub. Her consecutive boyfriends were an evil influence on Timothy. His uncle would get drunk and abuse him. Timothy 2:9-6-9 got into drugs and alcohol in order to numb the pains of his teenage years and found solace only with a gang of criminals. By the age of 25, he found himself in debt, severely addicted to hard drugs, and in prison. Timothy 2:9-6-9 then contemplated about how badly his life had so far gone and how deeply he had been destroyed. If at this point Timothy had simply given up, he probably would have ended up in a far, far worse place. But Timothy didn't give up. In fact, Timothy decided to turn his life around. He went to rehab where he was taught to believe in a higher power, and in his own capacity, he did. He left all criminal activity. He sorted out his life and worked hard to secure a decent job to pay back his debts and pay for rent. He visited his mother and made sure she was doing okay. And he went a step further, deciding to dedicate his life to inspire youths to keep away from drugs and criminal activity. He wanted to bring a positive change to the world. And Timothy, though he never became a Muslim per se, the distance that he traveled, the struggles which he endured, and the pains he undertook to better himself and to better humanity as much as he was able, this distance is far greater than the distance that even many Muslims have even traveled. On the Day of Judgment, Allah is going to judge Timothy with justice, according to the hand he was dealt in life and whether he made the most of it. Now, you, as a Muslim, are going to be judged in a very different way to Timothy. Timothy wasn't given a foolproof set of principles by which to live his life. And yet that little understanding of right and wrong which he was given by Allah, he was thankful for it and he acted upon it. You, however, as a Muslim, were given a complete and perfect set of principles by which to live your life. And you're going to be asked, were you thankful for it and did you act upon it? And the Holy Quran says, Inna hadaynahu sabil, imma shakiran wa imma kafura. Surely we have guided him to the way. He may be thankful or he may be unthankful. One of the greatest traps which Shaitan ensnares us with is making us believe that we're already good enough. Don't fall for it, because the journey towards Allah is infinitely high. Allah wants you to be the best that you can be, while Shaitan doesn't want you to reach your full potential. So look Shaitan in the face and tell him, game over.